Everybody for joining today's webinar. We are, of course, discussing a very hot topic at the moment in the recruitment world, which is how to build a premium brand in recruitment. For those of you that don't know, my name's April Turner. I'm the investment manager, and before joining Recruitment Entrepreneur, I spent 10 years in recruitment as a recruiter and have been fortunate enough to work with Sam now for 6 or 7 months, I believe. So really excited to introduce Sam. What I thought I would do is find out some fascinating stats about Sam's career today, and they really are fascinating. So, in her career in recruitment, she's developed and launched over 60 brands internationally, or projects, I think is the best term to use, which I think in itself is something to go by. Has managed over 100 recruitment websites at any one time. So I don't know how many hands you've got, Sam, but well done to you.
Big team.
And has also played a key role in the management and the launch of global events in partnerships with brands like BBC, Sky News, and Guardian. So I think that in itself deserves a round of applause. So well done you. And I think just to summarise that, Sam kind of came into this world when she started working with Hamilton Bradshaw, which is James Caan's portfolio and fund, where she's been critical in building, scaling, and launching recruitment businesses, or brands, should I say. So we're hands today, I think, everyone, is the point I'm trying to make. So, Sam, is there anything I've missed at all? Anything you want to highlight?
I think that's enough. I'm sounding. I've obviously been busy. I would say the age I'm at makes that a little bit more realistic. So, but thank you very much for the incredibly kind introduction, and welcome everybody to our webinar on how to build a premium brand in recruitment. I'm really pleased to be here this afternoon with April to talk about it, and just to give you a quick overview and snapshot of some of the key strategies and tools I think, and I've found personally, really useful in helping to develop premium brands, especially in the recruitment space, because that's where I've spent probably about the last 15 years of my career. So it goes very, very quickly. Well, firstly, I wanted to just caveat, obviously, marketing there are so many different aspects of it. And depending on what the type of business you have, and what industry sectors you operate in, will depend on what's going to work for you. Not one size fits all. There's no magic bullet that fixes all your problems and makes sure that you can grow your brand. I also wanted just to position the UK market of recruitment. There are over 30,000 recruitment businesses within the UK. The UK recruitment market is currently worth £41.3 billion, which is an incredible amount, and only 1% of those over 300,000 businesses actually get to a point of exit, which is what Recruitment Entrepreneur as a business help founders do. And more importantly, about 80% of those recruitment businesses are actually small to medium enterprises with, say, up to 10 people within them. And so really, when you've got that size of business, the actual marketing resource you have at your disposal isn't usually that big. So you have to be really clear and really considered about what you're actually going to focus your time, efforts, and attention, and most importantly, your budget on.
Yeah, I think what's also really important to highlight for those of you that maybe even just joining now and looking at some of these stats is that these were released. There were several kind of key reporters out there, but one of them was by Deloitte in March this year. And so a lot of these stats actually haven't changed in around 9 or 10 years. So in particular, the 79% of businesses are considered micro businesses between 1 and 5 employees. The 1% hasn't changed. So it just goes to show that there is still a lot of opportunity, but a lot of work that we all need to be doing when it comes to presenting putting our brands in the best place. So I think just a really good snapshot of how much work we still have to do.
And also appreciate, I know this is very UK based at this first slide, and there are going to be people from overseas potentially on this call, but what I'm going to talk about is going to cover kind of all areas and be relevant to all regions. So I wanted to start off with is why marketing is important. Well, it's important in every business, but it's especially important in recruitment, because in recruitment, it is unique in the fact that not only are you marketing to your clients or customers, you have to market to your product, which is your candidates. And so you're doubling your efforts. Now, I've put here a few things to really focus on when attracting candidates and marketing to candidates. And it's something, it is really simple and everybody knows it, but too many people that I've seen don't do it really well. And so it really is about, marketing is about best practice. It's about doing things really, really well and maximizing your time. So posting jobs on your website is a really simple thing to do. But when I've launched businesses in the past and I say, right, post jobs, and I look on their website probably a couple of months later and I see like 10 jobs, that's not going to maximize their site performance. That's not going to attract those candidates. And the brands that do really, really well are the ones I've seen where they do put really good quality, well-written jobs with lots of keywords included with them. So they're keyword rich, so they can be found easily by candidates that are looking online. And that really helps with the search engine optimization. And so people will pick that up and actually respond. And that is something that is so simple. Everybody knows how to do it, but I see very few doing it really well. And also making sure that on their website, they have the job alert functionality. So a candidate can choose what alerts they want, about which types of jobs, and how frequently they want to receive them. Do they want them on email? Do they want them on text? They choose the way they actually want to receive that information. That's an important point.
Can I ask a question? I'm going to pretend that I'm a business owner and I'm running a business and I've got 5 recruiters and I'm busy and I'm trying to think about where to kind of put my time. And in all honesty, I'm not good at writing. So what do I do if I'm a business owner and I'm not very good at writing job specs? How do I know what the keywords are? What are the advice you would give to somebody that's really thinking about tightening their job specs or job adverts?
I think it's finding out what the key things are that the client wants, and you have to put all those aspects into the job. Also finding out what's trending. I can send out some links as well to help with keywords following this, not a problem. But it's really making sure, also do a bit of a search yourself. And as a founder, that would be something I would be expecting my consultants to be doing. I really would. And making sure that, I mean, what I see a lot of people doing now is chat GPT. In terms of, and that's fantastic because it's a brilliant tool. I absolutely love it. I use it. However, you can't just rely on it. You can't just go, right, I've put that through, it all reads well, I'm just going to upload. You upload it onto the website or post it as a job. That's not going to work because it's very generic. So you really got to understand the key aspects of that job. And if you're a specialist recruiter, you know what those keywords are that are going to be related to it because you know your industry. And so, but there are tools that you can use to help search keywords, which I will share after. I'd also say in terms of attracting candidates, candidate testimonials. As soon as you've placed a candidate, get that testimonial, a bit like what you should get from a client. Within 48 hours, you've got a window.
And I've actually seen it happen before where an agency has introduced a promotion criteria for their recruiters to get as many testimonials as possible. And so this is obviously not necessarily directly linked to just marketing, but more so, you know, just building your brand and identity on LinkedIn using your testimonials is really important. So yeah, I can see why that would add value.
And you've hit the nail on the head there, April, because building your brand isn't just a marketing activity. It is a group, it is a team effort, and everybody has to get involved to build the brand. And once you've got candidate testimonials, then you can promote them on social media. You can put your post using probably a tool like Canva to do a nice design, which is also a link in for Canva, which is a great tool, which I'm sure most people already use. And then that candidate testimonial can click through and link back to your website where it talks about all your other candidate testimonials and to sign up and share your CV, etc. But there are so many things that I don't think people generally use their website enough, and everything you do online should be driving traffic to your website, to building it and driving that traffic. Whereas a lot of people get siloed in their marketing or sales efforts and just kind of, oh, well, I've just put this post out, but it doesn't link anywhere, or it links back to them. You want to be driving traffic all in the same place to build your brand.
Agreed.
And when it comes to clients, I'm really a massive supporter of doing video interviews with clients. I think it's a really nice thing to do because it makes that client relationship less transactional. It's much more personal if you engage them in the recruitment process as well. Say if they're, obviously it's different if you're hiring for one person, but if you're hiring for multiple roles, I don't know, say 10 to 20 software engineers, it's great to actually get to that client's premises, or even do on a webinar like this and find out what's your culture like? What are you really looking for? Because shooting video isn't that hard anymore. It can be done with a few iPhones
and that's it. And you're completely right. Sorry to interrupt you there, but I'm just thinking again, trying to kind of thinking about budgets and time. It's just that, you know, if you've got a really, really amazing client that you've got a fantastic relationship with, you know, get your iPhone out, video yourselves talking to each other, get it on LinkedIn. I think there's some crazy stats around those that are sitting on LinkedIn on trains or commuting. You know, for every 5 posts, if there's a video, you see the engagement shooting up because people are stopping and people interact with movement. So, you know, even if you just get like a 30-second shot of yourself and your client talking to each other when you're out and about, it's highly impactful.
It's 87%. I think the stat that I found was 87% of people they're more likely to engage in video than say blog content or any other static content. So it's and also kind of the next generation are so video orientated today. So you have to, if you're not doing video, then you really need to start engaging with that, because it is how everything's going to be done. And actually interviewing clients and talking about their culture is a really important thing when actually looking to hire, and it stands out as different. Eventually at one point it won't, but right now it does. So it's something that I've encouraged people to think about doing in the way that is appropriate for them. And because going back to the point, you've got a caveat with depending on what's right for your client relationship and for a particular placement. Again, client quotes, use those, drive traffic back to your website, post them. And also, for example, if you're building a brand from scratch, if you want to use a really good client quote in your email signature when you're pitching to new clients, use that. And then as you build your clients, each one, make sure you're actually pointing them, when you've placed a fantastic person for them, make sure you're pointing them to fill out Google reviews. So you can build up a store of really great Google reviews. And then eventually on the homepage of your website, you can feature all your Google reviews because you can pull it through. So it's integrated. And also on your email signature, you can just have a click through to see all our Google reviews. And I think that's a really nice thing to do in terms of credibility.
Yeah, it does look great.
And marketing also, obviously, a recruitment business isn't anything without fantastic people, because that's how you grow your brand and grow your business, by attracting the type of people you want to come and work for you. So developing your employee value proposition, that's a really critical aspect. And one point I would note here as well, everybody's heard of Glassdoor, everybody's seen Glassdoor reviews. Some people are a bit, oh no, not another negative Glassdoor review. What I've generally experienced is that people post on Glassdoor company reviews when they've left a business. That's the wrong time to do it. If you're building your brand, as soon as you've got somebody new in, give them a little bit of time to settle in, then encourage them to post a Glassdoor review. And then
oh God, I was just about to say, oh sorry Sam, I think we're talking over each other there, but just quickly, I think just on the employer branding piece, I think it's often overlooked, and an exercise that a previous employer of mine ran, which was incredible, was around how you interview your existing employees and the key words that came out of that exercise, and using those words to really push your brand out. So for example, if the word is encouraging or really good for, I don't know, like the social aspect or really positive atmosphere, the most common words that are used when you're interviewing your existing employees should then be part of your employer brand, because they're used day to day by the people that work in your business. And so that's just something that you could take away from this, is to think about running a survey to your existing employees.
Well, that all comes down to your brand proposition and what, when you're building brand guidelines, you have, right, what is your client proposition? So what are the 8 to 10 key statements that you should consistently say to clients that makes you different? And everybody should know what they are. And that's the pitch. And then what are the what are the kind of 8 to 10 key statements that you say to candidates as to why they should come to you rather than anybody else? And does everybody know what they are? And also, how do we engage with each other as colleagues? Like, what does that mean? And kind of what behaviors have we got? Those are really important things. And there's very rare a situation. I've only ever seen when you've done a branding project and you deliver it and everybody goes, wow, that's really exciting, isn't it great? And everybody loves that branding project. And then it kind of fades over time and it's not reinvigorated or re-engaged with. And it should be every time you've got a new person in the business, they should know what your brand values are and what your employee value proposition is, because that will really help build it. Also, again, doing the interviews and employee testimonials, but with the Glassdoor reviews, as soon as they come through the door, give them time to settle down, ask for a Glassdoor review. And also, if you've given somebody a promotion, right, can you put a Glassdoor
exactly.
review?
Can you promote it?
Yeah, or on their work anniversary. There are, and I just think that's something forgotten about as well. Because
I think we've got some good examples of actually how companies have done that coming up in the slide. I think, is it the next slide? We're just showing promoting how people have spoken about these on LinkedIn, and it supports the employer brand piece as well. I'm conscious of time, Sam. I know that we've got, I think, about 20 minutes. It's probably worth
I'll
jumping
speed
on.
up.
Unless, by the way, again, just going back, so if anyone's got any questions, please do put them into the chat now, and we will go through them in the last 5 minutes or so at the end.
Okay, right. I just wanted to share a few examples of what I think good looks like. Now, obviously, you've got the likes of Reed, which are massive. And that's that very small, that 20%, that smaller percentage on the first slide. Now, I wish we all had the pockets and the marketing budget that Reed have, but we don't. But I wanted to highlight them because they do some fantastic advertising, great social media. They've got some they're really consistent with everything they do. And I think also the social media channel is quite interesting. It's quite fun. And I think they really represent themselves well in that space. In terms of more of a medium to large size business, I picked out hydrogen as a representation of what good looks like. Now, quite some time ago, I did actually work for hydrogen. And when I was there, it was several brands, and I was tasked with the challenge of consolidating those 7 very niche, very specialist brands into the hydrogen group, which has now, obviously, whoever's doing that now is doing a fantastic job of actually elevating the brand even further. If you look on their website, there's some really good insights, and like you've got the Thrive Guide there, got a good strapline. They've also, again, harnessed those reviews in terms of making sure they've got lots of reviews. They've got a really strong LinkedIn following as well. And they've really focused on making sure they're consistently posting good content.
Yeah, I think as well, if you look at these two brands, I think that what the most common theme as well is that a lot of the time when people that perhaps aren't as kind of clued up about recruitment, you associate it with kind of like stuffy, quite corporate, quite dull colours. But if you look at both of these examples, albeit them kind of a bit more established, they actually feel really fun and engaging, and they're really focusing on the things that, you know, a lot of millennials are looking for, which is reviews, stars, Trustpilot, so these things are just as important as on the employer brand side as they are when they're actually marketing it to their clients and candidates as well.
And I think that is really important because when we're building brands, we think, oh, we've got to look really credible, so it's got to look professional and quite rigid. And actually it doesn't. I really like challenger brands. I like people that are brave enough to stand out. And because that has much more impact in the market, because it makes people take and go, oh, okay, that's in finance recruitment, but it doesn't look like finance recruitment. Brilliant.
It does.
And actually that comes on, these are kind of smaller brands that I wanted to just demonstrate what good looks like. And obviously there's links in here, and I'd really encourage people just to check out some of these brands, because there's some things that in here that are quite good for inspiration. I looked at Put Talent. They won an award last year, an industry award. And I went on their website, and it's fun, it's engaging, it's different. It's not like your standard recruitment website. And they do supply chain recruitment, and they do these really cool updates on a regular basis just about what's going on in their market. And it's just got these little icons on, and they regularly update. It's really super informative, perfect. But they're very focused about what they do and consistent.
Yeah.
GKR is one of business within our portfolio. What they do really well, property and real estate recruitment, is consistency.
You just took the words out of my mouth. Consistency. They are fantastic at regular posting.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
They're really, really good. And all their consultants, it's not just one or two, it's all of them.
Yeah, and they're value led as well. I mean, in this example, you can see here they're adding value with their content. So they're not just promoting jobs, they're thinking about who's our audience, what challenges have they got, and also as hiring managers, a prime example, 85% of employees who accept a counter offer leave within 2 years. You're thinking, who's GKR? You know the facts, right? So it's indirect marketing, it's not just promoting themselves as a recruitment agency, and that's really important.
And that is so important because a lot of people go, oh, let's talk about us. Well, no, let's talk about your audience.
Yeah.
Why would they care? It's like sometimes you've got to kind of step out of your own way when you're when you're building your brand. And so really also they've got 4.9 star rating. They're really good at getting those reviews in. They're fantastic. It is part of their culture, building their brand.
I think it can be quite a fun incentive. So anyone that's listening here is thinking, where do I even start? I'm kind of a couple of employees. I've not got much of a budget. Build an incentive internally to increase the following. How are we getting on week by week, and make it more of a kind of like morale booster. It's like, okay, we're on 2,000, we're on 4,000, and if you get to 6,000, we'll kind of treat you all to a lunch and whatnot, and everyone feels involved. So it doesn't always the onus doesn't have to be on the owner or the marketeer. It can be a collaborative team effort where everyone's getting involved in that.
Yeah, and that comes on to the next one as well, Benetrix. I mean, they've got the Google reviews, but they are fantastic at video. They really have embraced it, and they haven't embraced it recently. They embraced it some time ago. So when you look on the Benetrix kind of LinkedIn page, or you will see lots of videos, lots of interviews, lots of webinars. If they are looking for somebody to place into a new role, they don't put a static post about it. They do a video about it. And I think it's really refreshing to see that, because obviously their target audience is very young, because a lot of it is graduates.
It is, yeah. And that's the thing, finding your niche and being engaged with you. Yeah, exactly. You're right.
But they do it really, really well.
They do.
And they do it super regularly. So
yeah.
So I just wanted to highlight those, because I think it does give a little bit of inspiration in terms of kind of, okay, what are other people out there doing? Not just the large recruitment agencies, but the clever things the smaller ones are doing.
Absolutely.
And then we've also got, which I thought it was really important to put this in terms of some common marketing mistakes. Now, there's a lot on here. I'm just going to talk overall through it. In my reasonably long tenure of working in recruitment and marketing, there's quite a few things that have come up that I see over and over again. And so really, in the first instance, now this is not necessarily in terms of, this is more for kind of launch businesses. When they name a business, thinking about, is that business going to is the name of the business going to serve me long term? If I'm going to go into other markets, is it going to translate well?
Yeah.
Because you have to consider that, because you're not just thinking about the next 2 years, you're thinking about the next 5-10 years, where you want your business's vision to go to, and what your ultimate objective is going to be.
Of course. I think that was something that I didn't even think about, was when you and I were having that discussion around one of the potential, launches, and the idea of their name was something London or something. And it was like, you were like, kind of think bigger, because in a way, if you just focus on one market, it might actually cause a negative effect in the long term if you do start, operating outside of the UK.
And also, as everybody's felt in the past 18 months, when there's been a bit of an economic, say, downturn, it's been more challenging in the market. What a lot of recruitment businesses have done is diversified. And therefore, if you have a name that's very specific to your market, it makes it much harder to then diversify into other areas, to be able to tap into other revenue streams. So it's considering that. Also, what I've noticed in terms of domains, when people buy a domain, they usually go, oh, great, that's available, I'll take the .co.uk and .com, log in, buy it, that's it, job done, and then forget about it. If that's not set up on auto renew, or the amount of times I've asked CEOs, founders, or have you got, do you know what your domain login is? Oh no, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
if that goes down, the website's down, the emails are down, everything's down. And I think there was one instance where Google actually allowed their google.com domain to be sold. It was only sold for 1 minute, and they
Wow.
recalled the sale. And then there was an investigation as to how it happened. And the guy that actually tried to purchase it, they did give him a charitable contribution for flagging the fact that there was an issue. But there's been numerous companies where they've let it drift. They've let it, they've forgotten to auto renew it, they've let their domain drift, and somebody else has bought it.
Interesting. Okay, these are just the tiny things, and not necessarily kind of like, mind-blowing facts, but it's actually the little details that sometimes people make mistakes on.
And it's a massive headache, and it's really costly.
Yeah.
In my experience, as businesses grow and scale and they want to diversify into new markets, they take the name of their business and say, right, we operate in probably several specialist areas, and we really want to be identifiable in those specialist areas. So they then put the specialist name under the logo for each different division, and maybe sometimes add a different color to each of those logos, to each of those separate divisions. Now, what that then does is it creates that diversification, and it does create niche brands. However, at some point, they then want to consolidate them again. Because what then happens, if you've got all these different brands that are very specialist and very niche, that's great. But then you have to support them individually. And it becomes like an octopus, which can get really unruly. And all of a sudden they want to do their own social media channels, and they want to do something completely different over here that's different to another division. And it becomes very, very difficult to manage. I completely understand why anybody would want to go down that particular niche, kind of niche way of branding. But it always, in my experience, ends up, right, we need to bring it all back in the main group.
Okay, interesting. Another thing that you wouldn't really think about, would you? I think you get excited about the idea of lots of sub brands, but I suppose the headache that will follow is perhaps
you're
not
just
worth
creating problems further down the line as you scale when you do that. And it seems like a good idea at the time when you're a younger business and you want to get into different markets, but then when you're bigger, no. And the brand values, I mean, this comes back to what we just talked about, really. Make your brand values what your business is about and what that culture is about and how you behave and what you say. Make that memorable for people. Showcase it in the office. Put it in your client slides. Put it in your kind of monthly catch-up meetings. Put it on you as a screensaver.
I agree.
Put it in your email signature. It's just where people are actually reminded of what the values of the business are and how people should be behaving. And the values that they should be showcasing, really. Marketing plans. Now, recruitment's incredibly.
We've seen these many a time. I'm sure anybody listening here has kind of worked for some leaders that have got these ideas and those ideas. And I think this is such a valid point. I read it earlier when you sent it over, and I thought I think a lot of people have probably felt this in their time.
Yeah, I mean, marketing are there to support sales. We're there to help drive sales. We can do that if we know exactly what sales' objective is. As soon as there's a disconnect and that the sales is diverted, then marketing can't keep up with that. So it's about taking whoever's doing your marketing on the journey with the sales team of what you're looking to achieve. Because I find I do many annual marketing plans, but I always find I have to then go and revisit them on a quarterly basis to reprioritize. And I think it's really important for sales leaders to take their marketing people on the journey with them, so they've got a bit of advance notice, so they can prep and position everything correctly for when they're going to do a new launch, and make sure they're given enough time to actually to PR it in the right way and to position it in the right way. Because sometimes, well, I've been in many times, right, we're going to launch this next week, can you get everything ready? And you're like, oh.
It has.
And then you just
sorry, Zach, go on.
No, it's just giving people enough time to really do what you're looking to achieve justice.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, I'm just trying to kind of like, how do we take what advice you're giving and make it practical is, when was the last time someone in your marketing team sat with a recruiter on a client call? When was the last, yeah, and it doesn't actually happen that much. And I think there's always the perception that a client will find it strange if you've got a marketing person sitting on a client briefing call. Can tell you now that your clients will be doing the same thing, and the amount of words and engagement that you get from it, I think, when it comes to recruiter and marketing relationship will have such a big impact. So again, a takeaway from this would be to spend time with marketing, whether that be in person or actually getting involved in the client pitches and meetings.
Yeah, and constantly reviewing what marketing are doing and delivering and tweaking it. That constant review. You've got to have that senior buy-in with marketing, really do, to make it work for you. Otherwise, you're not going to get your return on investment.
Absolutely.
And then really it's too many channels. Everybody gets overexcited about social media and wants to do everything. And actually it's the worst thing you can do. Just go, right, just focus very specifically on where is my target market? Where are they most active? Let me focus on that first. Let me do that really well. And then I'll go on to the next thing. Because otherwise, again, same with lots of logos, it becomes too much to be able to manage, and you're doing bits of things really quite badly, or then channels get neglected and they just it doesn't reflect your brand in the right way. And really everything you should be doing is making sure you're building your brand and not detracting from it. And then really
would be the best channel to start with, Sam, and to really perfect.
I mean, for the majority of recruiters, it's LinkedIn. However, it depends what market you're going for. If you're working in, say, healthcare recruitment, that could potentially be Facebook or Instagram. If you're looking at a kind of younger, more graduate recruitment, obviously you've got TikTok, you've got all sorts, you've got loads of different things. And you've got so many different social media channels as well now. Snapchat as well. There's really be specific about your market, but generally 9 times out of 10 it would initially be LinkedIn.
Okay, fine.
But that's not the same for everybody. And also unrealistic expectations. If you're going to do a marketing campaign, don't shut it down after a couple of weeks, because it needs refining, it needs reviewing, it needs time for people to actually engage with it. And you can, as long as it's being reviewed regularly, and I would say weekly, to make sure that it's on track, but give it enough time, allocate a budget, and also upfront agree with your marketing team or marketing person what good looks like. What are you looking to get out of it? Because you need to have benchmarks. Too often people won't have any benchmarks and go, oh, right, just do this campaign. Well, what's good look like?
Yeah, agreed.
So I would definitely ensure that those things are put in place before any marketing or any budget, especially any budget, is spent. But any budget, what we're getting back from, or for example, when you're doing an exhibition or an event, if you're going to exhibit somewhere, people go, can be a bit of a jolly. Well, actually, that's probably a lot of money. If you're sending 2 people to an exhibition, what actually leads are they going to bring back? Because it's not only the attendance fee or the exhibitor fee, it's the overnight stay, it's the travel, put all those in. Right, you need at least £1 back for every in return on investment for every £1 spent.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. I think it's often overlooked as well. I am just conscious I've got time. We've got 5 minutes until we get to Q&A, so just
okay. I'll just really quickly brush over this. Really, the right time for marketing resource should be dependent on what your revenue is, what the volume of activity you currently have in marketing. What I would generally say, and what I've seen for small businesses that are growing, is that a founder or somebody would find somebody in their team, potentially a consultant, who's really good at or really enjoys or is passionate about social media, and it becomes it's allocated to them as part of their role, and they can use social media scheduling tools to help them deliver it. As you then grow as a business and that consultant goes, whoa, this is getting too much for me, then you look at getting a freelancer, or depending on the scale, whether it's a full-time employee. And a freelancer, you want one that you can scale up and down depending on the activity that you need. And only when you're sure about somebody being taken on board full-time do you do that. If it's your first marketing hire, I wouldn't go for too much of a senior person, because they'll be doing a lot of the doing. And I wouldn't go for too much of a junior person, because they won't know. You'll be having to handhold all the time. You want to go for that middle ground.
I think that's a challenge that a lot of business owners have, right? It's like, I want to hire somebody that's got the ability to like be with this business for a long time and really scale and build divisions, but are they happy to do the legwork and maybe just writing the blog post versus demanding someone else to do it in the short term? So yeah, it's a challenge, and I think that a lot of people do get it right, but I imagine in that very first hire, it's an area of kind of the unknown for a lot of people. Yeah,
it's really critical. You've got to get that nice balance. You need somebody with experience, but you don't want somebody who's been doing it for 10 years and starting to go up that career ladder. Maximize your marketing return on investment. This automated tracking of what your activity is much easier now than it ever used to be. So you can set up so many integrations from your website, from your jobs through to your websites, to any job adverts going through to your website integrating and feeding into your CRM directly. Chatbots on your site can be integrated with your CRM, document downloads, lots of sales funnel tools. There's so much more integration now, whereas before you had to always rely on consultants to choose the right candidate source. You don't have to do that as much now, as long as your technology is in place. I put, in case your website isn't up to scratch, I put some landing pages options in there, as well as links, which I'll share with everybody. CRM sources. I once worked in a business where there were 1,200 candidate sources in the CRM, which was absolutely crazy. So a recruitment consultant would go in and try and pick a candidate source, and they just pick this first one on the list because there were 1,200. And so making sure those sources are clean, I mean, we got down to 12, is really important, because you need to track where your return on investment is. Now, the automation helps that, but you do need to cleanse those sources in your CRM.
Absolutely.
And then I will go on to, these are just a few things that I've put together. Sorry, social media tools that I've used. Some of them, not all of them. I've had recommendations from other people about some of the other ones, but these are social media scheduling tools. So some of these there's links to each of them on the actual logo, which you can click through to their main website. But most of these are really affordable. They help schedule all your social media. They post across multiple channels, and they've got some really cool features in, such as you can do video, and you can do a quick piece to camera that is branded. And once you're happy with what you've done, you can just press share, and it will share on whichever social media channels you like. If you don't like what you've recorded, you can quickly re-record it. And also, I mean, there's so much in here that you can actually do. You've got the AI tools as well, so it will automatically generate content that you've said you want to post out, and then you can just approve or edit it to send it out. So I'll share these with everybody, and there are free trials on most of them, so you don't have to. Then email campaign tools. Now, email campaigns taken a bit of a hit over the past few years, because obviously security's got a lot higher, and so a lot of emails are rejected. And also people have been so kind of bombarded with emails, they just don't look at them as much anymore. However, it doesn't mean to say they don't still work if you send out the right, really good quality content which is relevant to your target audience. Some are more cost effective in here than others, and you can really, like if you're using HubSpot, you can really take somebody through a user journey, which is really helpful. Logo generator tools. Obviously, if you've got an existing business, you won't need this, but if you are looking to start up, then these are quite fun to use, just to come up with your initial concepts for what your logo could look like. And these are all free, so all the links are there. And business development automation tools. I thought it was important to kind of reference this, because these are generally extensions to LinkedIn that you can use. And I know that you've used some of these.
Yeah, I feel like I'm an expert in this area now. I think there's lots of pros and cons. I think to anybody that's looking to replace these with your, typical recruiter, the answer that I would always give is absolutely not. Technology will always support the time saving aspect, but I've seen kind of, how this can have a negative impact as well because people are being bombarded. So Apollo is something that we use here. We've used Dripify, we've used Salesflow. I haven't actually used is it DuckSoup? I've never actually heard of them before. So but
Brilliant.
yeah, these are fantastic tools. And also what it allows, and I mean Sam and I are speaking frequently throughout the week about these, but it allows you to create cadences and audiences and campaign management linked to your CRM. So again, just tightening up that gap from engagement and the first message through to conversion. So absolutely take a look at these. And again, there are some free extension, some free trials that you can get with a lot of these tools as well.
Yeah, but they are really helpful in terms of just generating leads for you.
Exactly.
Really, it's about developing that message and brand guidelines, coming back to everything we talked about earlier. But there's also some cool things you can do as part of a launch announcement. You can make sure that you've got personalized messaging going out to candidates and clients or ones that you want to reconnect with. So I would say if you don't want to spend lots of huge fees on getting a graphic designer, but want something to look really slick and professional that isn't too difficult to put together, it still takes time, but it looks really good online, then Flipsnack's one of the tools for you. And then
I can vouch for that. I use it and send it out, and the feedback is fantastic. So anyone looking to create a shiny looking brochure, Flipsnack is the one.
And then I'll credit that to Jeff in our marketing team. And then obviously we do a lot of LinkedIn newsletters, which I've found is really helpful in building a brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that quite like GKR have really built their brand using the GKR newsletter, the LinkedIn newsletters as well. They talk about industry insights, they share their live jobs, and it's a regular, again, consistent thing that they do.
Consistent, and it's free. So for those of you that have a LinkedIn page, you can create a free reoccurring newsletter, which it's sent automatically to all of your connections. So for those of you that have quite a large audience on LinkedIn, the newsletter will be released, as it were, and it will go out to all of your connections who would then subscribe. So you can often find that, from launch day, a few days later, you'll have like 500, 600, 700 subscribers to your newsletter. So it's a really quick, free, easy way to get an impactful audience. I might say.
And then these are some key takeaways. I'm not going to go through all of them because we've covered off some of them, but I would say database cleansing, make sure the amount of times that consultants put out a job and pay for that job on a job board, and then they get this candidate they get really excited about, and then they've been in the database.
It happens a lot.
The database is a gold mine. Make sure you actually use it, otherwise it's just a leaking bucket.
Sam, we've had a question, and I'm just conscious if this person might jump off. So can I just ask it to you, because you might be able to. So one of the questions was, how do you build the brand organically on LinkedIn?
Organically on LinkedIn, I think it would be something like using something like LinkedIn newsletters. And,
okay, that's a good
really
point,
it's the consistent posting. If you're going to post on LinkedIn or any social media channel, try and be consistent about the days you post. Even if you just do it once, do it on the same day.
Yeah.
Okay. Or if you're going to do it twice, maybe like a Tuesday and a Thursday.
Yeah, and I think video as well within there, just trying to blend some video into your posting throughout the week.
Don't over-engineer it. Don't try and give yourself too much to do.
Yeah,
but I do think the LinkedIn newsletter thing is really, really good in terms of organically growing your brand.
Yeah,
absolutely. And engaging the video piece, most certainly. Those are the things I would definitely say. So yes, don't make sure your database doesn't become a graveyard for old CVs, because they probably just need reinvigorating. Your reviews, video content, again, there's that 87%. Jobs, Google Analytics 4. The previous Google Analytics, which obviously tracked everything that was going on in your website, is no longer. Google Analytics 4 is a little bit more complicated. If whoever's doing your marketing, whether it be or your website, if it's a website agency, make sure they've got GA4 set up properly and it's tracking all the events, because it has changed slightly. It has changed somewhat, and you really want to know that your website is set up for this and is performing correctly. Obviously, Google Analytics 4 isn't the only way of measuring traffic on your website. There are other tools out there, but I did put a link in here as to how to set up an account and a step-by-step guide to how to set up GA4 through SEMrush, if anybody wants to know that. And then just referencing ChatGPT, I think the paid version is much better because it allows you to put in longer prompts. And I think I read somewhere that somebody using the paid version actually passed the US bar exam just by using it. But really, don't just copy and paste, refine it, edit it, make it your own, because there's too many times I've seen it. You can see when somebody just posts it and it just doesn't look.
I noticed the other day that somebody had just replied to an everyday email that I'd sent them with a ChatGPT response, and I thought, I was only asking quite a simple question, but it was almost like people have forgotten how to communicate with it. Yeah, exactly. And it just felt ChatGPT, and I just thought, wow, okay, that was an interesting. I think you really do need to be smart with what parts you take from it and what parts you don't.
And also you can go back in, you can take the bit out of it, and then you can go in and re-edit it and make it more you.
Yeah, agreed.
Especially when it comes to your blog content.
Exactly. People aren't silly; they do know.
And then, sorry, April.
No, I was going to say, sorry, Sam, because we had another question that come through, which is quite a good one. And it was, is it more important to build my personal brand or that of my business?
Depending on whether it's your business or not. If it would be your business, I would say you want to be building your brand within it, the business's brand. Depending on what you want to do, it is important to build personal brand, but I think it's more important to build company brand. But if you are wanting to set up your own business and be a founder, then yes, building your personal brand is critical.
Yeah, I think it is really hard for founders. I mean, I can only speak of those I've worked with as a recruiter, and I think that when you're spending so much time supporting your recruiters in building their personal brands, you can sometimes lose what your identity is, because you are the CEO and founder, you are a recruiter, but are you a marketeer? And so it is a really good question. And I think a lot of people as founders will ask themselves is, what do I focus on, my business or myself? And I think there's probably no wrong answer, and I'm sure Sam will have some more to say on this fact. But
I think in the first instance, you want to be if you're starting your own business, you want to be building your own personal brand.
Agreed.
And then as that business is scaling, you want to be building the company brand and the business brand.
Yeah.
And then when that's got to a point of scale, then you can focus on building your personal brand again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it depends on what part of the journey you're on, I would say. Both are important. You implement them at different times.
Yeah.
And then really, this was just, I really like this statement because it just really encapsulates that brand building isn't just marketing, it's everybody. It is a team effort, and it is taking everybody on that journey. And you can say what you want in advertising, or marketers can say what they want about business, but if then it's not backed up by what the people who work for you do, it all goes out of the window.
It's so true. It's so true. And that recruiters are terrible corporations, data, marketing all the time. And so it's actually really hard to build exactly what you're describing there. And I think that having champions within your business that can be specialists at the social media posting or focusing on the employer brand, or you can incorporate quite fun parts of the job to your recruitment team. So yeah, I think it's a fantastic point to end on as well.
Okay, great. Well, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them. If not, obviously appreciate we're kind of running over time now, and happy to take anyway. And I will be sharing these slides with all the links in, and with any question and answers to any questions we don't cover off.
Absolutely. For those of you that have stuck with us, thank you so much, because we are definitely running over. Not too badly, actually. I think, 5 minutes or so is not too horrendous. But if there are any questions and you guys aren't rushing off, feel free to ask them in the chat. But we will be sending out all of our content from today's webinar. We obviously have recorded it, so we'll be sure to include that in the follow-ups. And you can connect with Sam on LinkedIn and myself, although Sam is absolutely the marketing specialist for the purpose of today. So any questions, feel free to direct them at her on LinkedIn. Oh, we have got a question. tips for finding quality clients on LinkedIn rather than being rather aimless. Any tips for finding quality clients on LinkedIn rather than and Henry, do you mean in using marketing collateral as a way of finding clients through LinkedIn? I'm just trying to make sure that we answer your question the best we can.
Is that how to find good quality clients on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
It's I think, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because is that clients or candidates? Can I just
Client.
definitely
Yeah.
clients.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the only thing I can vouch for on that piece is obviously LinkedIn has some fantastic tools. So, you know, marketing would play a part in that, but I would actually more say that LinkedIn Talent Insights is a great place to be finding your clients, because you can be looking at attrition, those that are hiring, those that have open jobs. If you're looking specifically at how can you find good clients with marketing, content and collateral, Sam, that would be a question for you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's you've got to create that content to attract clients. I think only you are able to assess whether that's a good client or not. And I think actually what I've noticed from talking to a lot of recruitment business founders recently, they've actually let go of bad clients. And I know you shouldn't really say there are bad clients, but some, maybe when you're doing 1 or 2 placements a year, and they focused on, well, where can I get higher volume? And that's kind of really contradictory to what most recruiters or business leaders would ever want to do. Or I don't want to lose any clients. But actually, if you're spending a lot of time and not getting that return, then and that same amount of time could be positioned elsewhere and give you a much greater return, you have to make those hard decisions. But in terms of finding them on LinkedIn, I think it's a good question, because I think it's quite hard to do. But what you can do is you can capture, again, by using the kind of LinkedIn newsletters, you could actually generate some decent client activity from that by putting industry insights out and making so it's downloadable from your website, linked from social media to your website, and then downloadable and capturing emailed contact details. You can do that. But I would say you'd only really know whether it was a good client or not once, other than looking at reviews, other than looking at the online reviews.
Absolutely. And I think, Henry, my point to you would be having a think about, what does quality mean to you? If you're running a business and you're thinking about a client that pays on time, that could be considered a good quality client to you. If a good client means you want to work with a big, shiny, you know, big logo that you know your candidates will love, that could be what quality means to you. So before you look on LinkedIn for a quality candidate, I'll be running an exercise with myself as a founder or with my team to identify what does quality look like to us before we start looking for it elsewhere. And that would obviously then impact generally, you know, your client base in the business. So it's a really good question, and I don't think there's any kind of magic wand answer, but fundamentally defining what quality to you as a founder or recruiter would be the first exercise before you explore it elsewhere.
Very much so.
The only other question we had is, when should I think about SEO and what should I look to be paying?
Right, but excellent question. SEO is depends on what you want from it. I mean, there are lots of ways you can actually improve your SEO, which is what I talked about in terms of posting decent job content, because the more regularly you're posting on your website, the better, and the good quality content, the better your SEO becomes. In terms of SEO agencies, I would, if you, depending on your budget, I mean, there are some SEO agencies that are being, recruitment business paying £4,000 a month to. Now, most would not want to do that. There are others where you can pay about £750 a month and they'll do a really good job. But again, it comes back to that 3-month rule. You can't just switch it on and then turn it off. You've got to give them a decent run at it to get any return. Because if you go to an SEO provider or agency and say, okay, here's some budget, and after a month you're like, oh, the results aren't great. If you switch it off, it's completely wasted exercise. You need to have let that run for at least 3 months. So make sure you've got budget for SEO for at least 3 months. Otherwise, don't even bother doing it.
It's a hard one to get right.
But there are different price points for SEO. I would look at kind of like smaller agencies to start with if you're dipping your toe in the water, unless you've got bigger budgets to spend.
Brilliant. I think that is everything. I think that's all the questions. Henry, that was, oh, thanks, Henry. I just read in your comments, so I thought we had another question there. I'm glad that you found our answer useful. But I think everyone, for those of you that have stayed the whole way, we've still got quite a few listening in. So I'm hoping that that's because there was some really useful content on the today's session. We will be looking at doing more of these. So if there's any feedback that you guys have or any ideas that you'd like for us to kind of dig into in future webinars, please reach out to us. We're more than happy to engage with those that have attended today. And just, yeah, thank you so much. I've definitely enjoyed it. Sam, you've been fantastic. I never expected anything less. And yeah, thank you all again.
Brilliant. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good afternoon.